Hi, guys. How are you? First of all, I want to say a heartfelt, warm thank you to everyone who wished me a happy birthday. I had a great time. Uh, wow. Honey, wow. The dish that I always get, I'm so predictable, honey. Please. I order the same thing every time. I'm so predictable. And today I decided to try something different. Well, it was a bigger dish than what I thought it would be, and I had stuffed myself with salad and I had stuffed myself with breadsticks. So by the time the food came, I was going, I don't think I can finish this. They gave me a free dessert for my birthday. I tried to eat it there. That wasn't working. Uh, yeah, I felt full up to here, from my belly up to here. Okay. There was no room for dessert. Normally, there's a dessert compartment. Mine was full with food. So, came back with a bunch of salad, breadsticks, my meal, my dessert. There's just plenty of food for tomorrow. So, that's like totally awesome. But I want to share something with you that's going to mess your mind up. It's going to mess you up. And I didn't mention it before because I totally forgot. I put it totally out of my mind. I'm going to put the link in the description bar. If the link for some reason doesn't work, then I'm going to tell you what to type in the YouTube search bar. Okay. And it's going to mess you up. It's going to mess you up. You know why? Because it's going to be a video of the sperm donor, my so called father, and his bitch ass wife. My uncle had made, no, yeah, my uncle made spices, homemade spices, and he actually sold them in the stores on the East Coast. It's called Mr. G's Hot Sauce. So if you're ever in the Massachusetts area, Martha's Vineyard area, you may see on the shelf Mr. G's Hot Sauce, and that's my uncle's hot sauce. Um, and his brother, which is my so-called father, um, I watched a video with Lee Hammock, and he talked about how narcissists get worse as they get older and they start to show age because they're just so wicked and evil, and their behavior becomes worse if they don't get professional help and that kind of thing. And that is so the truth. Oh my God. Yeah, he has aged tremendously. He looks, I'm not going to say my opinion on how I think he looks. However, remember back in the day, you could click on a person who made a video and there would be a choice of about. And you could click on about and then you could send them a personal message. So I sent them a message about him. And I said, I don't really know. It was a while back when I did that because I think that option is over. Like, you can't do that anymore. You can't write someone directly. But I remember telling them, I'm going to be paraphrasing it because it was a long time ago. You probably do not want this person on your show anymore. He is a horrible person. He is a narcissist. He is violent. He is vicious. He has violently beaten the holy hell out of me on many occasions. He has severely abused me. He is a horrible person. A horrible person. And I should know what kind of person he is because I'm his daughter. To which, of course, there was no response. What could they say? Um, my grandmother always had the two of them competing against each other. Why, I don't know, but she kind of got a kick out of that, you know. Oh, your brother's doing this. Your brother's successful with this. And da, 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 da. You know, in other words, he's better. In so many words or less, he's better than you because he got this going on and that. So they always had competition. So the father, whatever that means, he made homemade beer, and then Greg jumped on the bandwagon of um, making spices, homemade spices. Or wrong. The father did the spices, the homemade spices, and my uncle did the hot sauce, Mr. G's hot sauce. So his wife is a bitch too. You will see her on the video. That's his wife, his third wife, and him. I never told y'all that before because I totally forgot it. I totally dismissed them, like, you know, screw you. Um, but then for some reason, when Lee Hammock mentioned how they get worse as they get older, I was thinking, you know, like their age, things change. Like they don't look the same anymore. And I thought, you know what? And I saw the video again and I just kind of stared at it like, okay. Wow. 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 Um, I remember sending him a letter because obviously, when you come from a violently abusive childhood and your so called parents are horrible people, the holidays hurt you worse than maybe anyone else who hasn't had violent parents. So I wrote a letter and I said, you know, these are all this is, you've hurt me on such an intense scale. And, you know, these are things that I went through and I never told you about them. I was almost raped in high school and I never told you because I just wasn't connected to you. And, you know, you were always out doing your own thing, philandering, and you didn't really care about your children or your family. And I just purged. And typical narcissistic fashion, his response was, "How dare you give me this letter before the holidays? You're trying to ruin my Christmas, and I can't believe you would do something like this. And you sent me a letter to my place of business," which is his house. He ain't got no damn business outside of his goddamn home. And he made it all about him. Now, somebody who made mistakes as a father, but they love their kids, but they were young and dumb and made a lot of mistakes, and they want to atone for what they've done. They would not flip out and, oh, you had to bring this to me, and you're trying to ruin my holiday and me. A father who cares about his daughter, go figure, would say, wait a minute, what do you mean you were raped, almost raped? What? That went completely over his head because that don't have nothing to do with him. Again, in the narcissist Bible, what that got to do with me? What that got to do with me? Remember, I told you they get karma? He got karma. Oh, he got karma good. He got it real good. Okay. He got it real good. So I'm going to tell you what he told me, and then I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay. So he was always a hoe. And instead of, he lived in Connecticut, and a pretty decent neighborhood, and the property taxes in Connecticut are sky high. Okay. So if you can afford the property, that's one thing, but you're going to get nailed on property tax up there. It's like crazy. So he told me, in so many words or less, we're relocating because we're tired of the winters up here. The winters are harsh. So we're leaving, and we're going to have the bank do a short sale, and we're out of here. Well, I didn't know what a short sale was, so I researched it. I can't remember what I read, but I know that my uncle told me years and years and years later. He said, "Do you want to know the real reason why he lost his house?" I said, "Well, he told me he had a short sale." He said, "Right. His house was foreclosed by the bank because he wasn't making payments. He wasn't making his mortgage payments. I know in the wintertime, he said, I found out that he wasn't able to afford propane to heat the house." Really? Do you know why he didn't have money? Do you want to know why? Let me tell you why. Because he didn't have money because his money went to his women. So the short sale means the bank is going to repossess your house. Okay, they're going to take your house, and you got a short time to get your ass up out of there. That's what that means. So you look at her, the wife, the third wife. She knew that he was slutting around. She knew when they were dating that he was slutting around. So what does she do? She marries him. Make it make sense. She marries him. I remember her calling. We were living at my grandparents' house, which is his parents' house at the time. And she called and said, "Do you know where your father is?" They were dating. And I said, "No, I don't." And she said, "Well, when you talk to him, can you let him know I was trying to reach him?" I knew exactly where he was. He was jumping up and down on somebody else. Same thing he always did. Okay? He was jumping up and down on someone else. How dumb is your wife? How dumb does she have to be to know that you foreclosed on your home? The bank foreclosed on your home because your husband is a hoe and using every dime to pay for his side pieces. So you basically lost your house, your stability, the roof over your head behind him being a slut. She's still with him. She ain't going nowhere. So as far as I'm concerned, they deserve each other. So I remember when he was still on this page of "we're leaving voluntarily because of the weather." They didn't leave voluntarily, obviously, right? And I talked to him, and he said, "We picked out this other property," and he talked to me about this property for close to an hour because the town I was living in at the time, I was driving long distance to go to the city. Not once did he say, which is typical, right? Not once did he say, "How are you? How are you doing? How do you feel?" He just went on and on about this property. And he showed me pictures of it. And it's so much, the square footage and this and that, and showed me the layout and everything. He was never going to be able to get that house because he foreclosed on the other house. Is he going to tell you that part? No. Don't be silly. Of course not. So you're going to get a face with a name. Well, you're not going to get his name, but unless they say it in the show, which they might. I don't know. But you're going to get to have a face with the individual. This is the same individual who I had to go to comprehensive counseling for. Okay. This is the same individual who put giant rolls of toilet paper in my mouth and bound it with tape around my head. It gives me so much pride. Please don't be I know you're going to probably be shocked by it, but it happened. And it doesn't impact me the way it used to, because I eventually, after suppressing that for years and years and years and years, I finally told one of my counselors, one of my therapists, because it was building over the years, building, 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 building. It's like trying to hold a beach ball, force it into the water and keep it under the water, but your arm starts trembling. Your muscles are fatigued, so your arms start trembling, so you switch arms and you use that arm. A therapist, gave me this analogy, and it's so true. And so you're holding the ball down with your other arm, and that arm gets tired. You keep switching arms, and eventually you get to the point where it's just too much, and you have to just stop. And so that's what I ended up doing. I couldn't. I had to let go of the shame. I had to let go of the embarrassment. And I finally told my therapist, because there would be, I told and used to beat me without my clothes, and my body was developing into a young lady at the time. The reason I could say these things, please don't feel bad for me. I've been to therapy. I'm way better than I ever was. That's why I strongly suggest people go to therapy, because it works. It works well. There used to be a time when I could never, ever, 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 ever talk about that without tears. Would not happen. Would not happen without tears. The scars on my arm where I got stabbed, and the mother was in the other room pretending she didn't know what was going on. She heard the whole damn thing. Okay. When I wore sleeveless shirts, people would ask me, "What happened to your arm?" And I couldn't look at them. And I would look down and look away from them. And I'd say I got into a fight with someone. And I couldn't look at them. So there's a shame transference. So the person who inflicted that evil on you should be ashamed and embarrassed, but they're not, because they don't have a conscience. So that shame and embarrassment gets flipped to the victim. And that's a load of bullshit. Okay. That's a load of bullshit. And then I got to the point where, for many years, the scars on my arms, because you could see the puncture wounds on my arm. And I finally got to the point, years later, I finally got to the point where I told myself, you're not a victim, you're a survivor. He could have killed you. He could have hit an artery and you could have bled out. You're a survivor, you're not a victim. So no one's asked me since I've been an adult. I'm not embarrassed about it. I told you, you could probably see the puncture wounds. I think they're here. Yeah. And then I've got some on, it's hard to tell where they are now. One is here. And there's another one somewhere. I've been darkened by the sun, so they're hard to see. Oh, here's two of them right there, right where my fingers are. Puncture wounds. And, there's a transference of shame and embarrassment, and we need to give that back to them. We need to give that back to them. I don't need to feel embarrassed about what you did to me. I don't need to feel ashamed about what you did to me. And I'm not, if someone were to ask me, they don't, because everybody has scars nowadays, right? So nobody goes, oh my God, where'd that come from? Nobody flips out anymore. But when I was younger and I was totally unprepared, people would ask and I'd be like, Oh, yeah. Uh, and I just couldn't face it. But now I don't care. I would just say, I don't know what I would say. No one asked, so I don't even know what to say. Um, and I'm gonna say this one more thing, and then I'm gonna go. I've been through the situation where I have been introduced to, like, say, my girlfriend's family, and they're tight, and I'm not tight with my family for obvious reasons. They're cuckoo for Cocoa Pops anyway. And when you tell them I'm not tight with my family, they've got a lot of issues. They look really uncomfortable. They're like, you can feel it in the air. It's like this heavy in the air. Almost like a silent judgment, too. I didn't have a choice who I was born into or from. I'm not like them. Consider me a miracle. I came from evil and I'm not like them. Now, if you mess with me, you're going to find out. Okay. But so far as deliberately causing harm to people because I get my jollies off, I don't do that. That's not who I am. So I have felt judged on more than one occasion. There's like this quiet, oh, I'm not tight with my family. There's issues. Oh, and there's this silence and this heaviness that settles in the room as if it's my fault that I come from a jacked up family. I'm gonna end with this. Lee Hammock wrote a book. It's on Amazon. It's called It's Not Your Fault, and it's a children's book. I'm going to promote his book. It's $11 on Amazon, which isn't too bad. And it teaches children who come from narcissistic abuse, it teaches them that it isn't your fault. You don't have anything to do with that. Those are decisions that were made by your family it's not your fault. It's called It's Not Your Fault. It's written by Delaney and Lee Hammock. Delaney is his wife. So I'm going to put the link to the parents video so you can see who I've been talking about all these years. And if the link for some reason doesn't work, it should. I will write out what you need to put in the search to find them. Okay? Let me know what you think. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Thank you for making my birthday a special day. You guys are awesome. You guys, you're just freaking awesome. That's it. You are. Talk to you later. Much love. Bye.